Welcome everyone to this Force Friday. We have a very interesting session for you guys. We're going to take you over 2 weeks time from looking at reference all the way to developing a character moment with a very specific character design. So many of you may not know this, but only a few years ago, I was teaching at the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and I was an instructor in the master's program there. And I was teaching this class. It was kind of a hybrid class. It actually was half figure drawing and half character design. And what I really loved about the class was the assignments that myself and the other instructor in the chair were working on. And one of the assignments, is sort of umbrella concept to the assignments, was to give a student the work of developing a new character for a particular show or towards a particular character designer, right? So I'm trying to bring that in here, except I'm going to give you a little bit more view into what's happening behind the curtain, right? So we're going to actually start all the way from a reference. Does every character designer start with a figure photo? No, not necessarily, right? If you're drawing well enough, most of the time you can start coming up with the stuff out of your head. But we're going to do that today. There are obviously designers who are out there right now working that look for reference and find things that inspire them and then work off of them. And that's the process we're going to show you today. How much do I take from the photo? How little do I take from the photo, right? Like, what am I going to do with it? Where am I going to take it? The structure over the next 2 weeks is today, each instructor has 3 photographs of reference that they've chosen of a model. And we're going to draw studies of that reference to better understand the forces, the forms, the shapes of that model and that pose. And then we're going to blow it out, right? We're going to push those poses more towards the clarity of a story, right? So in that time, we're going to try and find what's going on, right? What we're going to look for from you today that we're hoping you can help us with is preparation for next week, which we want to end today with. And that preparation is, who is it, right? So they're doing this thing. I'd like to get a more specific who. And the way that you can help us is through particular characters or TV shows, right? We really want to get it down to like a character in a show if we can, right? Obviously, it should be 2D. None of us are coming in with 3D models next week. Okay. So we want like a 2D show. Could be a 2D film, but something 2D because we're sticking in the world of drawing versus 3D. Okay. So we want you to think about that as we are drawing today, right? So we're going to bounce around in between the 3 of us as we're working. Each one of us will take over at different times. You'll get to see what each one of us is working on, you know, how we're studying the models, and then again, how we're plussing them. And as we're doing that, and we're pushing those poses, especially towards the end of today, those last 15, 20 minutes, I want you guys to come up with ideas of like, oh, that really reminds me of blank, right? That really reminds me of Superman in this particular cartoon, in the Tim Burton cartoons. Like, it'd be awesome if you made it Superman, right? That's what we're looking for, okay? And then next week, so next week will be really interesting. We're going to take that same drawing and we will come in with a final version of it, character designed based on the characters that we figure out today. But we're also going to show you how we did that. How did we get there? So we're going to show you how to basically deconstruct art direction, right? How do you go backwards, right? How do you take something that already exists and be able to break it down into its systems in order to rebuild up into it, right? And that is very real, right? Any of you that are interested in something like character design, this is a very real situation, right? You're going to come onto a pre-existing property and have to ramp yourself up, right? So you got to go into, you know, model sheets and the show and all these different things to try to learn how to create the characters in that style, and then hopefully be given the opportunity to create new characters, for instance, for a particular show or a film, right? Maybe you're doing the 15th Shrek movie, right? So that kind of thing can happen, okay? All right, if you have any questions, as always, please feel free to type them into the chat. If you enjoy the content that you've been watching on this Force channel, please hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the bell, then you'll get notified about when our videos are posted. So please do so as well. We still have a prize lingering out there for Parker's Parker, I believe, right? So I said I was going to do it a week. I'm going to hold off for one more week. I have not heard from Mr. Parker. So by next weekend, if I don't, I think we'll probably pick like a second runner-up then. I really want to give the prize away, okay? So we'll see if Mr. Parker shows up today or not. Okay, everyone ready? Swanley Matunje?
Yes.
Welcome, guys. Didn't even say hello yet. How you guys doing?
Ready to go?
Doing good.
I'm so excited to get into this. Yeah, so this will be really fun. I haven't seen the photos that Swanley Matunje have come in with yet either, so I'm really intrigued to see, what kind of poses and stories they're going to present as today as well. So let's do it. So I'll start this off just to get the ball rolling. And you guys, feel free to be drawing while I'm drawing also, and then you can cut over whenever you're ready and you want to show us stuff, right? So here's my first one. Now, admittedly, I grabbed these pictures because to me, they already start looking like story, right? I feel like there's already some ideas here that I'm already thinking about. I don't want to stay too attached to them because who knows, maybe in the drawing of all of this, maybe something else will come up. So first, I just want to do some studies. It's like, what's going on here? This is my way. This is my way of becoming a little more intimate with it because I think I know what I want. I see what's going on here in this pose, but who knows, maybe by drawing it, it might lead me to something else, right? And I learn, for me personally, I really learn as I'm drawing. It's my way of learning. You can ask my wife to her to her detriment. Like, I'm like, can you draw that for me or write that down? Can we get a whiteboard out about this family meeting here? Because I need to see this in pictures. Can you make a pictograph for me here? Right? Yeah, I'm not that hot on conversation of like learning through conversation. I'm great at talking, as you all know at this point, but I'm not the ultimate listener. I have to really focus, really focus, right? And when I mentor, same thing, I'm teaching and I'm listening. I'll lots of times draw, or students know I'll write stuff as they're talking because I'm writing down the ideas and thoughts. It helps me like keep track of everything, right? So I really like, I'm trying to be more real on my first pass. Like I said, this is more of a study, right? So like, I like how this is all driving. It's pushing up into the shoulder, right? It's all pushing. I don't like that. And if you have ideas, feel free to throw them out there, even, as I'm drawing. It's okay. We don't have to wait too much. You're like, oh yeah, what about that? It might even give me some ideas on how to push the pose, for later. Let's lift this up a little bit. Really want to get this down more. Push this space. Using the new brushes, for those of you that aren't aware or new here today, we did a whole video on new force brushes. So I'm using what I call the show-off brush because it's just so flashy, but I like it. It's fun, All right, so here we got Trinda, our model, like doing this cool thing here. So there's a study. I'm going to try to start playing around a little bit with this guy. I think I really want to push this like thrusting idea. So when I'm drawing, when I'm pushing, I look less at the model in a sense, right? The model becomes a reference point. My obligation to the model is starting to lessen and lessen and lessen. I'm like, I already learned, and I learned by looking, right? I already looked at the model and I did my study. So now I'm like, how am I going to make this better? I want this arm out, right? So silhouette's always a big deal, by the way. I want to create a good silhouette, right? want his head kind of leaning more this way. I don't want to really push the feet here in space. You can see I'm trying to play up the pose now, right? More motion to it, more aggressive. Yes, I would agree. So as Edward said, yes, Hannah boy, yeah, right. So this is exactly as Swinley Murtunje can attest. First thing I think when I look at him is like Three Musketeers, right? So he definitely needs like a rapier or something in there. Yeah, I agree, most definitely, right? Like this need this here, and he needs his sword, right? Like that, most definitely, right? Interesting, isn't it? Think about that. So easy for us to say that, but think about what really is going on here. You know, we're all in different locations. You guys are talking through chat. I'm talking here. And yet, and I said this even prior to Swinley and Murtunje, we're looking at a photograph of a fellow human being, in this case, Trinda, and the pose immediately allows us to all have the same idea. Isn't that amazing, right? Think about that. To me, that is amazing, right? Amazing that we're that conditioned, right? That the world that we live in is so ubiquitous. We've all seen the same things, the same movies, and written the same, read the same stories, seen history and how it's evolved, and all these different things feed all of us as a race, right? That we can look at a member of our race take a pose like this and we go, oh, he's like a Three Musketeer. Amazing, just amazing, right? So powerful. And we want to lean on that, right? I think that is incredibly powerful, right? So we want to lean on that opportunity, to play this up, right? To say, yeah, he looks like a Three Musketeer. I keep picturing him with this like huge hat with a plume, right? Like something like that. Like that makes total sense to me in this pose, right? The only challenge, which I just started thinking about, is like, well, who would he be, right? And I think one of you mentioned Shrek. Like I was thinking, oh, this definitely could be the cat in Shrek, but I was like, oh, wait a minute, but the cat in Shrek is 3D, right? So I don't know if there's a version of a Three Musketeer that's 2D, like a 2D drawn version that I can work off of for next week with this pose. So I might have trapped myself with this, right? Like, I don't know if I can get there. I got to watch it doesn't fall over either. Like, this feels like he's falling backwards, right? I might have to like push him lunging forward more instead of back, or I have to lift him up, right? Like the photograph is, you see. So interesting, right? Interesting problems here to deal with, like the pose, right? Pushing the pose and which way do I want to go with it? I love Musketeer. I think Musketeer makes a ton of sense, right? Because it feels like more of a fencing kind of maneuver. Oh, Mickey Mouse, Three Musketeers. Yeah, that's a possibility. That's right. So we got Musketeer, maybe Mickey Musketeer. And yeah, so that's an option, right? So we got Musketeer, let's see. Monologue and nowhere during the battle. Yeah, exactly. Inigo Montoya. Oh, it's pretty wild when you think about it. A powerful love story can bring us together. Yeah, Mickey Mouse from Musketeers reminds me of the mouse from Tom. Oh yeah, yes. That's who I was thinking. I kept thinking, I know I've seen this in animated form. Yes, Tom and Jerry, right? Yes, I remember that. Tom and Jerry. Yeah, another excellent one. That's fun too. Captain Hook. Ah, great one, man. Oh, I like that one a lot. Yeah, Edward, man, I think you struck gold with that one. Yeah, Captain Hook would be awesome to draw. I'm totally into that one. Captain Hook. Yeah, fantastic. So that's one, right? Like this, I'm gonna move on to another, but I think that you guys are starting to get a sense of how today works, right? Let's see. Let me pull this out. turn this on. There. And then I'll come back to that. So my number 2, right? My number 2 here is I would start saying, okay, again, let me study the pose, right? What's going on here? Oops, I wanted to throw that leg back. It's like, no, it's not back. He's like this, right? Holding himself up. So force would go on the front of the shin here, right? Again, I'm just studying. I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this thing with the foot that's going on. I'm learning, right? I'm learning about the pose. And I love that, by the way, and force should feel very much like this too, like draw to learn, right? Draw to learn. This way you get out of the hassle of thinking I have to draw to create beauty, right? Right now we're drawing to study. We're just trying to figure things out. What's going on here? What does it lead me to? What does it feel like, right? Bad silhouette here, so we'll fix that as we push the pose. Does that brush have a stabilizer string or rope? Yes, all my brushes have about 15% stable on it. This way it actually makes it feel more like I'm drawing on paper. So yes, redacted. Pink Panther. Is that? This is not the soft touch. This is the force gesture brush. It's the one. It's got more texture. Like that's why I would call it the show off. It's got like more zing to it, you know. So here's my study, right? It's the one I used for the thumbnail of today's video is this pose. So he's running, right? So man, that opens me up to a lot of different properties, I guess, in cartoons. The first thing that pops in my head is the Flash, you know. But I was saying to Ratunjay earlier, I'm like, yeah, but I don't know, what is that? Am I going to go off a comic book? I don't know if the design is specific enough there or not, you know. So Pink Panther is an interesting idea. Yeah, very interesting idea. I did not think of that. Pink Panther, I like that. I do like that a lot. Right, so it's more like sneaking, right? So you guys are pushing into the sneaking piece. I was thinking about running, right? Like I was going to push into running, but you're pushing into sneaking. That's cool. I like that. That's why you guys are here today to help with this. It's awesome. So let's see. Well, maybe we'll push into the sneaking. And if I were to draw this out, I would probably raise the leg a little higher to push that. Maybe have the crouching be lower. Right, so more like this. All right. Now I don't want a tangent here, right? So I'm gonna let this leg come out a little bit more, but still get the pointed toe. Now I'd have to check out Pink Panther to see if he does point his toe or not, because I don't remember. I haven't seen Pink Panther in a long time. Right. So it's like this. And his hands would not be so much running, right? They'd be more like this and probably open-handed, right? Like for balance and sort of stealthiness, right? We want stealth.
You know, Mike, he can be more like a coyote, like from Roadrunner, you know.
Roadrunner, Coyote, Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
I'll write that down
Taking
too.
the anticipation pose for running before the dust cloud appears.
Right. I think he's Wile E. I forget if there's a Y in there or not. I'll put a Y. Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, that's fun too. I used to love those Roadrunner cartoons. Maybe like head tilted, kind of looking over, you know, to the side. Maybe as soon as I did that, I started thinking about Scooby-Doo. I'll bet I could find Scooby or Shaggy in poses like this. Yeah, I guarantee I could find this too. All right, now that we've gone sneaking mode, yeah, that's opening us up to a whole bunch of different IP, right? Intellectual property. Yeah, so that could be too, right? Any of you guys want to pick up a shift while I sketch this out, and I'll move on to my next one and come back?
Yeah, I can share.
All right, all yours.
Let's see. Let's go to Clip Studio. Put the talking heads up here.
Yes. Exactly.
So this is the one I started with. You know, like this guy reminds me of a Viking. Now, probably because of his looks and the axe. In terms of characters, I don't know. So if you guys have suggestions, you know, I'm all ears. I'm thinking of someone like Thor, for example. You know, then we could exchange the axe for a hammer. But in terms of the pose, I did some study. You know, this was iteration number 1. Then I wanted a bit more energy and thrust in the upper torso. So I think this one works better, you know, relative to the reference. And now I'm at the point of exaggerating it. You know, so the main thing that I exaggerated, if you notice from here to the second one, is the amount of applied force on the leading edge. So let's see, let's go here and let's grab orange. So with this guy, now like his body wants to go this way. Now, so this here like would be the leading edge. So here, what I'm basically doing is, what if we apply even more force into that leading edge, you know, and then the rest of the body would like just drag behind that extra thrust that is taking place in the pose, you know. So that's my train of thought when exaggerating a pose. You know, I look for the leading edge and I start by increasing the amount of applied force. And that will tell me, for the most part, what the rest of the body would be doing. So here, in light of the extra thrust, I think I want him to like point that axe. You know, so his arm is going to stretch a bit more, using some wrappings just to give me a sense of the direction of the forms. And also, he's holding that axe. Going to change the angle of the axe to make it a bit more dramatic than in the reference. So maybe that axe would be more like at this angle. Now I use a pretty big brush, so I can really focus on the overall pose and not get caught up in details. See, now I'm thinking about, if there is this much force pushing him to the screen right, how physics-wise, how would that affect this arm? Now I think I wanted to stay pretty close to the original because I want to call more attention here. And I don't know if I want him to have that second axe. You know, I think in terms of character design, I want all the focus to be here. So I think I will omit that one for now. And so in the reference, his chest is facing towards us and his pelvis is twisting slightly. So here I'm going to exaggerate that and really turn his chest this way and his pelvis the other way. I'm thinking of the mass of the neck and head as a whole. And again, as I'm drawing this, I'm thinking about the applied force on that mass, you know, so I'm not thinking about drawing the heads. I'm thinking about mass and how that mass is affected by physics, you know, by the forces, you know, and slowly I start like massaging and sculpting the head into that. Now it makes a big difference in what your drawing will look like ultimately.
So we did get a Gaston. That's an idea. I think that's kind of interesting. You know, because when I look at him, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, like I think most of us are always thinking about like he feels like a Marvel character. Or Thor obviously comes to my mind first, but I'm like, is there a good animated show where the style is strong enough for you to have to dissect? But if you went with something like Gaston, there's definitely a look and feel to him. You know, there's an aesthetic that you would have to go after. So he might be. I think he's one good strong option for you so far.
Yeah, sure. That would be one. In terms of Thor, the show that comes to mind is Avengers World Mightiest Heroes. That's an older one, but in my opinion, one of the better animated shows of Marvel's back in the day. So that's a very that's a very specific style.
You know, we just got is Critical Role, which is a new animated show based off of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign on YouTube. There's a character named Grog Strongjaw. So that's cool. That's new, like brand new show.
Okay.
That's a good call too. That's from Edward again. Edward with the ideas today. Yeah. AJ is also saying Grog. Yeah, I think Grog would be, I think that's a good one for you to look at. That fits in your wheelhouse a little bit too. And it's 2D, it's fantasy, it's Dungeons and Dragons. It's like a big guy. Yeah, I think that could be really awesome.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, so I'm going to look it up for sure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's called Critical Role. We've got Hulk from Planet Hulk. I know there's been a ton of animated Hulks. I don't know Planet Hulk, but Hulk's another option.
Yeah.
An animated
I
Hulk.
very much like that style, so that would be one of my picks for sure.
We've got Fire and Ice by Frazetta. That's true. Well, not really by Frazetta, but art direction style from Frazetta. There is the guy in there with the like wolf's head gear that you could do as well. So kind of like the Death Dealer. Tarzan could be an option. Yeah, He-Man. He-Man. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, He-Man, that's a great one. And you have two versions. You can go after the classic He-Man, and I think they redid He-Man like about 10 years ago or so, right? So yeah, He-Man's a very good one too. That's interesting. Yeah.
Savage He-Man, the Savage version.
Yeah. Bruce Timm Strongmen, don't know that. Yeah. He-Man's interesting. Oh, you got Thundercats also. You got that. Does the whole thing with the sword. So you got Thundercats, which was a little bit sort of Americanized anime. Planet Hulk was a comic book. Thank you. Yeah, I think we're going to try to stay away from comics. To me, comics, it pushes more into like a particular penciler and inker's like style. I think I'd like to try to stick with 2D animated shows. It's talking about something bigger, a whole property versus a comic. Yeah, I think I like the idea of that better. Plus, we're not going to find model sheets and stuff like that for a comic book where the show has got more pre-production. I think there's more opportunity for us to learn,
Yeah, I would agree.
Let's see. Kalisa writes, Mike, thanks for everything. You gave me a turning point in my drawing. Recommend. Oh, yeah. Walter. Yeah. Because Walter Tope was a former student of mine. So that's cool. He recommended me and my work has changed. It's effortless and comes from thought. It's Derek from Africa. Well, thank you, Derek. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad that that force is helping you. Batman, the animated series. Yep. I know one of us, I'm sure, would love to get some kind of Batman thing in here. Would be awesome. Yeah, Thundercats. I was also thinking about, for you, Swenley, there was the Space Ghost cartoon had, not Space Ghost, but there was a family that would always be attached. It was like 2 or 3 cartoons always put up together. What were they called? There was Gleep and Glop. And there was like Space a dad Ghost? And a mom. Yeah, it was like attached to Space Ghost. It's like this
Mm.
family, it's like Family Robinson on like a planet, like an outer space version of them. I can't remember the name. There's Thundar the Barbarian. That's another classic from like the 70s that you might find stuff in. But I really like the ones that you guys have come up with. I really like Critical Role. I like Gaston and He-Man. I think, man, those are three awesome ideas for you to play with. You know?
Yeah.
The Fist of North Star.
Oh yeah. That's an
Was that
old one.
animated?
I think so. I think I've seen that one on YouTube. Yeah.
I know that title. I can't remember what that looks like. Birdman, Attorney at Law. All right.
So as you guys can see, like I said before, I'm exaggerating the pose primarily by exaggerating the leading edge, so pushing more applied force in that and causing the body to stretch more and the body parts to like drag behind.
And I can instead of working. I got to get back to work on my other ones.
Yeah, and I mean, we could keep doing this and get into like a super hyper exaggerated version of the pose. And it's always fun to look for the breaking point, instead of staying in the comfort zone, like keep exaggerating and see how far you can get before the pose stops working.
Tunja, are you ready to roll?
Yes.
Curious. I want to see what you're up to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Swami. That was awesome.
All right, let me see. Yes. Sorry, I'm gonna stop you.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. So I have done two yet. The first pose is this, I know it's not a for the character you really want to choose like the front view or the 340, when you're designing, but again, it's all about story, right? And this reminds me of like a fashion model, all of a sudden. So here's a study that I did, and you can see like her calm expression, and you see like her big earrings here. I didn't put that here, that I just saw that. And so that's another thing. But then I exaggerated this pose, you see. Now she really feels like she's showing off some clothes maybe, right? So probably a fashion model. And again, just I'm welcoming all your ideas, right? I want audience power today. So it's
who could this
like,
be?
yeah. All right, it's like that, right? Like showing off some like loose clothing and like really maybe some fantasy clothing. Maybe she's like a bride, showing off her wedding dress or whatever. Could be like that. All right, so and then I was actually working on this one. So here's a pose again. Not a very dynamic one, but yeah, it's a great story. And we can definitely push the dynamics in there for sure. So here's a study, very quick study. And here's a little bit of push. Now, see, like here, he's more like a sneaky guy, right? Maybe he's like a spy, and he's going off in a cave or something like that, and he's like watching up. Is like, oh, the guard's watching or not, and then he's like trying to like make his way to the castle, to obtain the scroll or something like that, And then here's a little bit more push pose. I was just like thinking if this is working or not. I'm just like really trying to like leave off everything like proportions, anatomy, everything, just like trying to see if that pose is working or not. So let's see. I'm just gonna do one more that's in my head right now, which is I'm trying to like change the perspective of it. We'll see if it ever works. Okay. So I'm trying to make him more like this, like this kind of shot. I'm just showing it with the box right now, which is, oops, which
So we did
is
get one recommendation for Tarzan for the one that you're on right now.
this one. Oh, yeah, that's good. Tarzan is very animal sneaky like.
Yeah, exactly. Stealth and sneak is what people are talking about.
Yeah,
The
so
first one, the female one, Don was saying maybe Harlequin. I was even thinking Jessica Rabbit from I just blank on Who Framed Roger Rabbit as an option, like a really sexy, cartoon female for the Marie pose.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you got Harlequin or Jessica Rabbit.
Mhm.
Oh, Aladdin. Yeah. Aladdin for this one that you're working on right now. That's an interesting idea too.
Yeah, I remember that scene where he's trying to like save the girl from the street vendor.
Right, exactly.
So he's here. I'm trying to like play off with this sneaky idea of the character, right? And again, I'm playing off with the perspective because I want to make him look a little bit weaker, like to show off that like weaker position. So I'm just gonna bump up the perspective in here, right, to like more top shot. And he's more fragile in this situation, so it's gonna play off of that. Let's see. First I'm gonna do the legs because I'm also thinking about it in terms of silhouette a little bit, right? So let's see. Maybe I'm trying to like I don't know if I want to keep this straight, and maybe I want to have this leg more like what it's in the pose, but it's like more going there and then kind of like this. Yeah, this feels better to me. Yeah, so small leg there, right? Because of the perspective. Okay. Like tapering off. And now I can draw the hand just because the legs are there and I can think about the silhouette as well. Okay. So here, like once I'm done with the full pose, a little bit like full pose, then I can start to think about the technicalities of that a little bit. Okay. It's actually like this, so this leg is going like that, but going down, and this one's going down as well. Okay. And yeah, this hand, I'm trying to like push it off of that like that. See, now it's a little bit of twisting that's happening into the body, and it's like more sneaky, or maybe like if I go with that story of that going underneath maybe a severe, like he's more of a spot and he's like going inside that cave or whatever or something like that, like an underground structure. So maybe he's more like this, right? See, he's like taking support of the wall or whatever, right? And his body is like a little bit twisted. I really love this, man. Just brainstorming, sitting and brainstorming all around, all day, all day, all around. I like that, right? And then this hand, we can play off of the hand as well. I mean, maybe he's like carrying something or something like that, Yeah, I'm always thinking about these three things, by the way, tilt, rhythm, and twist, right? These three things, just with the dynamic posing a lot. He's trying to like look up like this way. Okay. So it's the same process, right? We all gonna follow basically the steady, the pushing. Maybe I can push him more and just let's do a quick one here. So just trying to like play off with the Morse perspective this time. Again, just like Swenley said, the fun is not in the comfort zone. You just really want to see where the pose starts to break, and then you shift back a little bit in order to find out the best iteration.
So we've got a couple of other ideas. We got Spider-Man. There has been many different animated cartoons of Spider-Man, so that's a possibility. Zelda, we'd have to pick a certain game. There's so many Zelda games. There was one that was very 2D. I think it was Wind Walker, if I'm not mistaken, or Wind Waker. I forget now. Treasure Island, I'm not sure who that is. Boo, Aladdin's Monkey is another one.
Yeah, so yeah, that's really good.
Oh, that's interesting. Edward says, oddly enough, the turn away of the female character makes me think a bit of Ursula. Oh, that's an interesting idea. I guess for the Marie pose, to do Ursula would be really cool. Yeah, because she kind of tries to do that little sort of sexy thing with her butt, right? When she's like singing and all. So that's very interesting. Interesting thought. I could see that.
Yeah, they have to save the live chat for the next week.
Yeah.
All right. So before think let's do that one. I mean that just straight off reminds us of Spider-Man. I have a couple of options here, a couple more options here. Let's see if you think of that one. Right. The silhouette is not that great, but it can fix with the arm, right? But yeah, what do you think again? I know I just like try to choose the poses which kind of inspires me, and then inspirational poses are always like a little bit more dynamic, so it has less chance of converting that to a more of a static character, but try to think different this time from, let's say, Tarzan or Spider-Man. Let's see what you got, people.
So while
I'm
you're
gonna,
sketching her, I'm going to jump over again real quick.
yes, exactly.
So you get to draw a little bit more. I'm going to share with you guys. Let's see, share screen. So we can kind of finalize mine. And then we'll move over maybe to Swenley again and then finish up with Tunjay. So I think we all did kind of land on this as sort of a sword situation. So I'll have to do the research on Tom and Jerry, Captain Hook. I would say my favorite right now here out of these would be Captain Hook. I think that's awesome. I would love to do that. That's my favorite of this pose, right? So Captain Hook, I would say, is the winner here. Then we've got sneaking. All right, so that's the next one. Kind of torn on this one. I think there's a lot of good ones. I would probably, I have to do some research on Pink Panther. I know Scooby-Doo better just growing up as a kid. So I would probably lean here and just see which one of these guys I would draw. But I think this would be my winner here. So either Scabby or Shuggy, Scabby or Shuggy, Scooby or Shaggy over here. And then last but not least, I started doodling this one. Maybe you guys can throw some ideas out for this. I keep thinking that maybe it's another swordsman. It could be a football player, or it's a guy with a shield. Could be Captain America, right? And I just thought of that with the shield. I was thinking more medieval before, but maybe Cap, right? Captain America is one option. Anyone have any thoughts with this, right? On where this could go. And then what I'd like us to do today before we close up our meeting is choose the favorite of each instructor's characters and us moving forward, right? So far I've got Captain Hook, right, doing the musketeerish thing. I've got Scooby or Shaggy sneaking, and then we have Captain America. I would have to look at an animated version of this. In a weird way, I think the superhero stuff, especially like Marvel, it's a little tougher. They've had their shows, but I don't know. I just don't feel like the style in the shows is that iconic. There's sort of, unless it's like Tim Burton, unless it's Bruce Timm stuff, Right. So I'm trying to stay away from sort of the Marvel animated stuff. I think honestly the best Marvel animated stuff I've seen is when they were doing What If. They had the TV show on Disney Plus, and they had they were animated. They were really well done. I have to say, really, really well done. Yeah. So see, Winter Soldier, like I said, I don't know if that'll work. Spear from Primal would be awesome. Primal in general would be awesome. I love that cartoon. I just watched the latest episodes recently. Primal, yeah, interesting. Yeah, Primal. Hercules, yeah. I have a feeling, to me, my gut is this one's not really going much of anywhere, So just so I can close out my part, I think it's really between this and this. And I think for me, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. It's between Scooby and Shaggy, one of the two, versus Captain Hook. I think I like the panache of the Captain Hook piece, and I don't think I've ever actually drawn him. So I'm kind of leaning towards Captain Hook, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Captain Hook. I think it's a cool pose. I'll push it further than what it is here, because the pose itself is actually already pretty damn good. And if I have time, maybe I'll try to come in with one of the other guys, you know, with Scooby or Shaggy, but I think I'm going to push for Captain Hook, you know. So Swenley, why don't you take over? I'd love to see where you left off.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see what you've been up to.
So I started working on the second pose. Let's go back. So I just did a study. You know, this one was a bit, for me, like I could see how it works in one shot. You know, I did some minor corrections here and there. But now I'm playing with what would be the exaggerated version. You know, and I would like the sword to go away into the page. You know, kind of like she just like slashed something. We could even put some motion lines here. And I was figuring out what do I want to do with her head to make it a bit more dramatic. You know, I wanted to look more towards the viewer instead of away from the screen. So that's basically what I'm playing with this this reference. So if you guys have any suggestions, again, we are all ears.
Redacted keeps mentioning cartoons, but I don't know them. I'm guessing they're anime. He's saying for Guts from the Sword of Berserk or Siegfried from Soul Edge. I'm going to guess that they're animated stuff. Oh, we got Darth Vader. That's interesting. Again, you're thinking of characters, though, you know, Redacted. Think about shows, you know, like, so sure, Darth Vader in what? Is that like the old 2D animated Clone Wars before they did the 3D one? Right? Because we're not doing live action here. It's not going to be a photoreal painting of Darth Vader. So what, or, you know, what version are we talking about?
Yeah, indeed, we need a particular style to work in.
Cloud from Final Fantasy. If there's a 2D version, I could see that. Could easily go back to He-Man and say this is what's her name? She-Ra, right? Plus they did a new version. Yeah, they did a new version of She-Ra not that long ago, right? So that's an option. Samurai Jack. That's a cool idea.
Oh yeah, that would be a good challenge.
Yeah. I like the Samurai Jack idea. That's cool. That was from Michelangelo. Yeah, our Michelangelo. Yeah, Samurai Jack is cool. Samurai Jack might even work for my last one, but I think I'm going to stay with, I think I'm going to stay with, what do you call? Captain Hook. So who do you have so far, Swenley? You've got, what did you like the most from the guy with the two weapons? Is there one there that really sort of struck your fancy?
Let's see. I would have to look again. Like someone mentioned Hulk from Planet Hulk. There is
that
an
animated
movie.
show? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, it's a movie. All right, so it's an animated Hulk. So you had animated Hulk, you had He-Man and Gaston. So do you think you could pick one of those three now?
For the first one, I think He-Man would be a fun one. I've never drawn him before.
Okay.
So
all right. So let's say you got He-Man for the first one. Is this your second pose or your third one?
This is the second one.
Okay. So, we just got the Ninja Turtles from the 90s. That's interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything here strike you yet? We had Samurai Jack. We've got Ninja Turtles. I think those are
Yeah.
probably the two strongest choices from it.
Yeah, I think Samurai Jack would be the greatest challenge because the style is so simple, deceptively simple, I would say. So, yeah.
Okay, so
be-
let's say the first one's He-Man, right? Is that what you landed on, right? And then Samurai Jack here.
Mhm.
And did you start your third image at all?
Not yet.
Okay, so why don't we jump over to Mertunje? Let's see what you have so far, Mertunje. We've got 9 minutes left. I want to see if we can finalize all three of us.
Yeah. I actually started with this one. Just feels so inspiring. All of a
Yeah,
sudden,
that's so Spider-Man.
yeah, but I just
Screams
want to
Spider-Man
see.
to me.
Yeah, I just want to see, like, instead of just thinking about Spider-Man, here's a study, by the way. Instead of just thinking about Spider-Man or something like that, can we think of something really different from, you know, it's more like I just want to take it more like a challenge for the audience and say what you can think of, in this pose. So while you're thinking, I'm just gonna do an exaggerated version of this, which I start right here.
So where are we at? As you're working on this, the first, you did two other ones, and we had Jessica Rabbit, we had, I want to say Medusa, but that's not right. Ursula from The Little Mermaid, right? Those are the two that I remember. Does either one of those strike you there?
Yeah, Ursula seems really good, and
yeah, Ursula, I think Ursula is good.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I want to cover, so yeah, that would be great.
So let's do Ursula. Let's say Ursula is your first one, and then you had the other pose of Mike. Was there anything there that that interested you?
Like this one, right?
Yes.
So what are the options for that one?
What did we have there, folks? We had Tarzan. We had Spider-Man. Trying to think if there was anything specific that was animated there that was really clear. It could be a Batman. Yeah, it could be a Batman animated pose, actually. That would work there as well. So my suggestion out of those three would probably be, with Spider-Man, you'd have to pick a version. There's been at least 3 to 5 animated Spider-Man cartoons.
Yeah.
Or, Batman has done as well, but I would probably push towards like a Bruce Timm, Batman. Any of those strike you?
Yeah, the Batman seems great,
Okay. All right. So far we've got Ursula. So Little Mermaid Ursula, Disney style. I'm going to write these down. So
yeah,
when we close up today, we can see what everybody's doing. Let's see. So you've got, let's see, Mertunje. So far, Ursula, I think, is your winner unless you can beat it with this pose, right? That's your challenge right now, is can you make this into something that you can beat Ursula with, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing Captain Hook. And I think Swenley, unless you again can beat it, right now you've got He-Man, right?
Yes.
Okay.
One more for this.
Yeah, so you guys have 5 minutes, or more or less than that, like 4 minutes to try and see if you come up with something better, right? I don't know what to, like I said, this could be this also could, I don't know if Batman really does this. I would say, and I don't want to go live action, because what's her name? Black Widow takes this pose all the time, right? In her movie, in fact, that was the joke, that she like takes this pose basically. And they made it a gag in the film. But I can't help but think Spider-Man with this. I mean, you could throw any superhero on here, obviously. It could be Wonder Woman landing like this, or But I personally think your best one's going to be Ursula, from what I've seen. You know,
Maybe it's like Robin from Teen Titans, I don't know.
Teen Titans, yeah, could be.
Yeah. I mean, he takes this pose all the time.
Hmm.
I also remember like it will be like maybe too cartoony, like Kids Next Door. Have you watched that?
Yeah, I don't know it. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know the cartoon. Joel mentioned Spider-Man from the Spectacular Spider-Man series had great design. So you might want to check out Spectacular Spider-Man. Here, I'll write it down for you.
All right.
Spectacular Spider-Man. And then we can look at these at the very end. Spectacular Spider-Man. And then I also had like Pink Panther. Or Scooby. He-Man and Samurai Jack were the other ones here. Okay. All right.
Great.
How are you doing, Swenley?
You want me to share the screen?
Yeah, let's take a look at what you got, and then we'll come back to Mrityunjay at the very end.
Okay. So I just did a study of the final pose. Ironically, this one reminds me the most of She-Ra, like when she's raising up the sword.
Yeah,
You know,
He-Man or She-Ra,
just-
either one of them, right?
Yeah.
Can we see your
So-
first one again? The first pose, the guy with the weapons?
The reference or the drawing?
No, that's fine. I'm just curious. Okay, so it's interesting because the pose does push in a different direction. Could be He-Man, of course, obviously, but you could change this pose and bring the hand higher up, right? The photograph, I think he had his hands raised over his head, right? Like he was like, "Rah." I see. Okay, so he's slightly leaning. All right.
Yeah.
But that could easily become more He-Man-ish, most definitely. You know?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you got you basically all three of your images today, story-wise, like people swinging weapons, right? Oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
I love how you push that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's fun.
So let's see. This is number 2.
Yeah, it's cool. Xena Warrior Princess. That's fun. Yeah, Panna Boy mentioned the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, I'm aware, Panna, by the way. It's actually designed really well, that show. It's got a lot of great forceful shape. That's a fun thing to think about. And this one definitely again feels He-Man or She-Ra most definitely. So
Yeah.
I would say it's up to you, both of those poses, the first one and this one, I think both push into that space. You know, is there one pose you're more attracted to than another at the moment?
Not really yet. No, all three have potential.
All right, let's get back to Mrityunjay. Any other changes in yours, Mrityunjay?
I'm just trying to think of
Have
should I
you been
share?
able to beat Ursula? Yeah, share.
No, not yet. I think that was really the unique thing that came out of this. So
Yeah.
or
All right.
something like that. Just maybe wanted to show off a sexy Spider-Man or something like that.
Yeah, you could do Spider-Woman,
Yeah, Spider-Woman would be great as well. But
So
anyways,
I'm gonna
Yeah.
call it. We're on schedule here. Let's get back to this last screen. So here I wrote down some of the ideas that came out of today. So thank you everyone in the audience today, by the way. Great job of throwing some inspiration our way. I'd like to finalize. So Mrityunjay, are you thinking Ursula?
yes.
Okay. So Mrityunjay is going to do Ursula. I'm going to do Captain Hook. And what about you, Swenley? You also have Cheetah if you want.
Yeah, I'm torn between She-Ra or He-Man. one of the two.
Yeah, what do you think you'd enjoy
Yeah.
drawing more?
Yeah, I think I'll give He-Man a shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so next week, just to be clear across the instructors here, your goal is to try and make this character look like it's a completed like production piece of art from that property, right? So, you know, so for you, Mrityunjay, I guess what we should figure out is how far we're going to go. We're going to just do line art, or we're going to go to color. I'll leave that up to you, but obviously line art should match the aesthetic of the show, the shaping of the show. It should look like that character as best you can, right? As best you can, right? So next week, what we're going to share with everyone is like, how did we get there? How did we break it down? What are the things that we learned about this particular thing, right? So basically for Mrityunjay, he's got to look at The Little Mermaid, right? You got to do your research here on The Little Mermaid and the style of that film, right? Like what's the aesthetic of this film? I have to look at Peter Pan, right? So I got to find model sheets from this film and Captain Hook. Fortunately, I think I'll find some stuff there. He-Man, you have two options here, actually. So you have old and new. You know, so
I like the new one. It's a bit more, I think it's a bit more angular.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll go for the new one.
Okay. So your goal is to come in with that pose of, and you have two poses really you can use, your first and your third. Either one of those could work for He-Man, you know. So coming up with a pose that works there. Try not to do, you know, we all know the He-Man shot from the dead front view. So I would try to lean a little bit more towards one of your like inspirations that you got today from the models and just get He-Man in that pose. It doesn't have to be the, you know, crazy Power of Grayskull like moment. But instead a pose of the character. It could be that it's the hand up, but like the third model that you had was from a different camera angle. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, here's a view that no one ever sees of He-Man in that Power of Grayskull moment, right? Where we're seeing him from like a 3/4 back. Like, what does that look like? Or you go with your first one and just have it be He-Man, but he's in some other pose that you had where he's like helping maybe his comrades charge or something like that, right? You see what I'm saying? Right. All right. Well, awesome. This was so much fun. Thank you again, everyone. If you, like I said, if you're enjoying what we're doing here, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to be notified, especially for this one, right? You want to be notified for next week, just to make sure you remember that we're coming back with the second half of this video today, right? So you'll get to see these final illustrations, right? So thank you, Swami Mrityunjay. Hope you guys had as much fun as I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. And we will all see you next week. All right. Take care, everyone, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
See you.
See ya. All right, we're out. So that was fun.